Now, may I invite you to stand for the national anthem? You may be seated. Good morning. Senator the Honorable Paula Gopi-Schoon, Minister of Trade and Industry, Honorable Hassel Bacchus, Minister of Digital Transformation, Permanent Secretaries of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ms. Frances Signore and Mrs. Aileen Alain Ovid, Ms. Tricia Kusal, President of the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, Mr. Ian de Souza, Chief Executive Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, members of the business community, staff of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, specially invited guests, members of the media. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, I welcome you to today's launch of the Trinidad and Tobago Trade and Business Information Portal. My name is Gaynell Abraham Braffett, Program Manager for the Inter-American Development Bank funded program Strengthening of the Single Electronic Window for Trade and Business Facilitation. And it is my honor to be your chairperson for today's launch of the Trinidad and Tobago Trade and Business Information Portal. To bring us welcome remarks this morning is Mrs. Aileen Alain Ovid, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Trade and Industry. P.S. Alain Ovid. Thank you, Gaynell. Senator the Honorable Paula Gopi-Schoon, Minister of Trade and Industry, Senator the Honorable Hassel Bacchus, Minister of Digital Transformation, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ms. Frances Signore, Ms. Tricia Kusal, President of Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, Mr. Ian de Souza, CEO, Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, other members of the business community, staff of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you a good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the official launch of the Trinidad and Tobago Trade and Business Information Portal. This portal will be an integral component of the TTBizLink platform, which is already well known for facilitating a range of government e-services related to trade and business. These services have not only contributed to improving the ease of doing business in Trinidad and Tobago, but have received local, regional, and international recognition for best practices in e-government. The Ministry of Trade can be considered as one of the pioneer ministries of digital transformation. And over the years, we have rolled out several e-services out in collaboration with other partner ministries and agencies within the government. Our ministry is keenly aware that facilitating the expansion of economic activity in the country requires transformation of the way we interact with stakeholders, and systems must be quick and agile. Therefore, modern technology and approaches must be deployed to, one, ensure that relevant business and trade information is easily and readily available. and that we simplify the process to do trade and do business in Trinidad and Tobago. Today's launch of our Trade and Business Information Portal therefore represents efforts to better serve stakeholders, strengthen trade facilitation, create an enabling environment for all businesses to grow and flourish and improve our country's regional and international competitiveness. In closing, I wish to commend the staff of the ministry who have worked diligently on this initiative over the last few months. I also want to thank our minister who has championed this initiative. Representatives of the public and private sector have also need to be singled out for attention and mention, as they willingly devoted countless hours to supply and validate information to populate our portal. The ministry assures you that there will be continued collaboration with all stakeholders as we seek to innovate and develop solutions to facilitate the further transformation of our economy. Once again, I welcome you and thank you for attending today. Thank you.
Thank you, P.S. Allen Ovid. As a member country of the World Trade Organization and a signatory to the WTO's Trade Facilitation Agreement, Trinidad and Tobago, by launching its Trade and Business Information Portal, has signaled its commitment to implementing the trade facilitation measures geared at improving our country's overall trade and business performance. In that regard, up next, we bring you virtual greetings from Her Excellency, Ms. Annabel Gonzalez, Deputy Director of the World Trade Organization in Geneva, Switzerland.
Dear Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to join you at the online launch of Trinidad and Tobago's new Trade and Business Information Portal, even if it will have to be virtual, I am afraid. Taking such an initiative could not have been more timely or more important. Still struggling with the consequences of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, we're now also confronted with heightened geopolitical tensions, energy shortages, inflationary pressures, a food security crisis, and more. And this on top of already existing signs of sluggish trade growth and waning enthusiasm for multilateralism in several parts of the world. Even before the pandemic, structural weaknesses were straining global supply chains. The additional challenges increased the pressure further. Bottlenecks, especially in the maritime transport, are hampering the smooth flow of goods, affecting trade costs and slowing post-pandemic recovery. Small and vulnerable economies, such as Trinidad and Tobago, are particularly affected by those developments as they make it harder for them to tap into external market demand. They also risk holding back growth. I am therefore especially heartened to witness the launch of the information portal and to see Trinidad and Tobago once again spearheading efforts to create a transparent and efficient business environment. You were already a front runner with respect to ratifying the Trade Facilitation Agreement, a key driver for enhancing commerce and economic growth. It is no coincidence that countries that have embraced trade facilitation measures have generally proven more resilient and better equipped to handle the current challenges than those that have been slower to do so and are now faring less well. By launching the portal, you once again set a positive example for creating the enabling framework we all need more than ever. It is impossible to overestimate the importance of transparency and access to information, both indispensable to expanding development, generating jobs, and fueling innovation. And I salute this initiative and wish it speedy success. Thank you.
The launch of Trinidad and Tobago's Trade and Business Portal is a big win for transparency, good governance, and digitalization. The information presented in the portal unlocks much of the mystery associated with doing business in Trinidad and Tobago. In doing so, one of the key stakeholders/beneficiaries of the portal is the business community. In that regard, Our next speaker for today's event is Ms. Trisha Kusal. Ms. Kusal is the president of Trinidad and Tobago's Manufacturers Association and currently serves as the chair of TTMA's Legislative Committee and sits on TTMA's Productivity Committee. Kindly put your hands together to welcome Ms. Trisha Kusal. Ms. Kusal.
Senator the Honorable Paula Gopi-Schoon, Minister of Trade and Industry, Senator the Honorable Hassel Bacchus, Minister of Digital Transformation, Her Excellency Annabel Gonzalez, Deputy General Director, World Trade Organization, Permanent Secretaries of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ms. Frances Signoret and Ms. Eileen Allen Ovid, Mr. Ian de Souza, Chief Executive Officer, Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, other members of the business community, staff of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Firstly, a sincere thank you to the organizers of this launch event for affording me the opportunity to bring greetings on behalf of my organization, TTMA. We at the TTMA are pleased with this initiative and extend a hearty congratulations. Well done, Minister, and every member of your team at the Ministry of Trade on launching the Trade and Business Information Portal under the single electronic window. The last 2.5 years have demonstrated how essential technology is to business, along with intensifying our use of it. As such, the TTMA's membership understands how very important this portal is going to be. It comes at a time when businesses are evolving with new and relying on various types of technologies, so its present necessity and timeliness are spot on. We therefore anticipate that the portal will be an important tool in transforming the landscape of business operations in the country. The TTMA is also pleased to have been among the ministry's collaborators. We have played our part in this initiative via our inputs, comments, and policy shaping suggestions towards the development of a user-friendly portal. The association had numerous meetings with officials from the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and we saw ourselves as advocates for easily accessible, relevant information. By this, I mean that the TTMA participated in the portal's designs by helping to ensure accessibility when it comes to trade data, standards, legislations, and documents that are needed for the smooth transaction of business operations in Trinidad and Tobago. At a quick glance, private sector benefits of the portal use include a one-stop online facility for searchable, accurate, comprehensive, and up-to-date information on trade and business procedures in the country. Also, it gives access information on the prerequisites for importing and exporting goods from Trinidad and Tobago, which may in the past have been a difficult task to access. Another feature within the portal that is beneficial to the private sector is the International Trade Center Trade Map. It is an interactive online database on international trade statistics for more than 220 countries and territories. This facility presents useful indicators on export performance, international demand, alternative markets, and the role of competitors from both a product and country perspective. This feature opens the world of possibilities with regard to how trade can be viewed and analyzed. It therefore enables better business decisions about what product is needed for a particular market at any given time. In addition to these features, ladies and gentlemen, the portal will help to reduce the time needed to access information from various other agencies. This means it will also provide users with information from agencies such as the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards, Chemistry, Food and Drugs Division, Customs and Excise Division, and Export TT. In effect, having such a mechanism in place helps foster the movement of trade effectively and efficiently within the digital world. The TTMA believes that this portal has the potential to realize one of Trinidad and Tobago's long-term business and trade objectives, gaining a competitive advantage in the international arena when it comes to the ease of doing business. to look at it from a perspective of the members of TTMA, if the time taken to send documents and receive approvals from various agencies is reduced significantly, this allows for containers to be cleared at the port in a shorter time frame. This in turn will reduce overhead costs, inevitably leading to increased competitiveness for business operators. Therefore, the launch of the portal supports Trinidad and Tobago becoming more competitive and attractive to investors. Finally, the TTMA wishes to again congratulate the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the Minister and her team, and the stakeholders involved in the initiative. On behalf of the TTMA membership, thank you for providing the non-energy business sector with this portal that will be another tool in the national effort to promote business. We look forward to its success and to also being among its many users and beneficiaries. May it see a lot of e-traffic and go on to help Trinidad and Tobago develop the competitive advantage it seeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kusal, for those very informative remarks. Our next speaker is Mr. Ian D'Souza. Mr. D'Souza is the Chief Executive Officer of Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce and a career banker for some 38 years. Kindly put your hands together to welcome Mr. Ian D'Souza.
Thank you very much, Madam Master of Ceremonies, or should I say Mistress of Ceremonies, I'm not sure. Senator the Honorable Paula Gopi-Skoon, Minister of Trade and Industry, Senator the Honorable Hassel Backus, Minister of Digital Transformation. All other protocols very respectfully observed. Good morning. It is indeed heartwarming when you call on your leaders for help and support, and you get it. It leaves you with a great sense of hope. There's no magic to that statement. It's not a quote from any book. That's just my feeling. Okay. On behalf of the Board of Directors and the staff of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, I would like to congratulate Senator the Honorable Paula Gopi-Skoon and her team on the development and launch of the Trade and Business Information Portal. Having participated in the consultative process during the development of the portal, the Chamber is indeed very pleased to see that it has become a reality. Also, from information posted on the Trade Facilitation Agreement on its website, it is noted that the delivery of this tool is in alignment with the deliverables on the Trade Facilitation Agreement. So I think the Ministry of Trade and Industry needs to be complimented and acknowledged on that as well. Trinidad and Tobago now joins several other countries in meeting its commitment under the World Trade Facility, the Trade Facilitation Agreement, to establish an internet-based trade portal to enable access to information on trade and investment rules and procedures. Trinidad and Tobago is in a position where we need to stimulate economic growth through trade and investment, particularly in the non-energy sectors. Apart from simply fulfilling an obligation, the launch of this portal, along with the work being done to meet other commitments under the World Trade Organization Trade Facilitation Agreement, it sends a clear signal of the ministry's commitment to put international trade and both local and foreign investment at the heart of our country's economic growth. From a private sector perspective, that is noteworthy and very laudable. The portal, as I would have noted when I checked it at 5 o'clock this morning, is beautifully laid out. It puts information on trade, investment, and business in Trinidad and Tobago at the fingertips of anyone needing it. The website is easy to navigate and rich in content. It goes as far as providing information on investment opportunities and investment incentives, which makes it easier for anyone, local and from afar, to make a decision on doing business in this country. As an energy-based economy, we have experienced considerable volatility in our economic fortunes due to fluctuations in the prices of energy and energy-based products. We are currently enjoying a windfall in earnings due to the Russia-Ukraine war. At the same time, we're experiencing significant increases in the cost of living due to supply chain issues attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic and the very same Russia-Ukraine war. These circumstances have made it even clearer that we must transform away from energy dependence, and we must continue to invest in other export-led sources of earnings. We must also facilitate investment in the retail and distributive trades, which are vital to day-to-day life and economic activity. The World Trade Organization estimates that the trade facilitation agreement will reduce trade costs globally by more than 14%, which is significant and is a benefit that Trinidad and Tobago must aim to capture through the maintenance of a facilitative trade and investment environment. To achieve this, trade and investment facilitation reform must remain high on the agenda, and we must continue to tackle obstacles that get in the way of entrepreneurial initiatives. The additional time and expense incurred because of a cumbersome trade and investment environment ultimately impacts the cost of doing business and the returns to the investor. In this regard, the launch of the portal is considered to be very timely. Now, I want to go off script a little bit here, Minister, if you take a chance. As I said, I looked at the portal this morning. It is beautiful, but what it reminded me of, we all like to get into a brand new car. The smell of the leather, and you play with all the little electronic toys that we have now. The thing about it is, though, to keep the car in that condition, you need to use all the mechanics, the people to balance and align and so on, and to polish the leather, okay? This tool needs the maintenance, and I'm sure Minister Bacchus will ensure that, because what occurred to me is that it is such a lovely tool, but to keep it current, there are a number of agencies that have to play a part in making sure, because the last thing we want is people going up on the website and finding stuff that is irrelevant. We don't want people stripsing, as we say in Trinidad, So anyway, Honorable Minister, we know much work remains to be done as we move towards the full implementation of the Trade Facilitation Agreement. We at the Chamber will continue to make ourselves available to collaborate with you and your ministry on the various initiatives that will ensure success of the project. This, if anything, because of the ease that it will bring in the conduct of business, and by extension, the improvement in competitiveness, national income, and the improvement in the standard of living of the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago. Minister, in taking my leave of this podium, I once again congratulate you and your team for a job well done, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Souza, for those heartfelt, insightful remarks. To bring us our feature address for today's launch is Senator the Honorable Paula Gopiskun, Minister of Trade and Industry. Minister Gopiskun understands the need for digital solutions within business models across all sectors in Trinidad and Tobago. In this regard, she continues to champion and encourage the adoption of digitization to ensure business sustainability, competitiveness, and continued innovation. Kindly put your hands together for Senator the Honorable Paula Gopiskun.
Thank you very much, Gaynell, for leading us on today. And first, let me acknowledge the Annabelle Gonzalez, Her Excellency Gonzalez, the Deputy Director General of the WTO. I'm very pleased that we were able to get these virtual remarks from them. But good morning to everyone, and I recognize my colleague, Senator the Honorable Hassel Bacchus, Minister with responsibility for digital transformation, he's the man of the moment. The spotlight is on him as we seek to digitally transform all of our services and so on. Permanent secretaries in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Francis Signory and Aileen Ovid. Of course, I recognize the two speakers before me, Trisha Kusal, the president of the TTME, and Mr. Ian de Souza, the CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber, and man who's up at 5 a.m. in the morning. Right. And I would also recognize the other heads of the business community. I know I saw the president of the Cuba Chamber and the Shogunas Chamber. I'm not sure from, I'm almost sure that Nirad Tawari is here. Nirad? Yes, from AmCham. Welcome. And a lot of people are here from the business community, and we thank you for coming. All of our partner agencies in the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Ashmi Mohammed is here from Export TT. I'm seeing folks from Invest TT as well, and thank you all for coming. Crimson Logic, who worked on this program for us, thank you very much for being here, etc. I think I've recognized all the members of the media, members of staff, etc., that are here to cover the event and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, all, and really it is a pleasure for me to be here this morning and to launch this new trade and business information portal. It's Trinidad and Tobago's new portal, which is a facility under the Ministry of Trade and Industry's flagship TTBizLink platform, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And really this serves as a one-stop hub for accurate and most up-to-date business and investment information. Today's event is another milestone for the government as it seeks to better serve the population and in particular, the business community. The International Monetary Fund in its April 22nd World Economic Outlook has noted that while international trade collapsed with the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, the recovery in trade was surprisingly quick, compared with more protracted recoveries after previous global recessions. And this is as a result of the growing resilience of value chains. The IMF also noted that while much of the work of building resilience must be undertaken by firms such as private sector actors, governments can play a useful role in investing in trade and digital infrastructure, reducing trade costs, filling information gaps, and this is why we're here today, in supply chains and minimizing policy uncertainty. Only last week, the Honorable Minister of Finance presented to the population the mid-year review of this country's economic performance, which exceeded the expectations of many. But Trinidad and Tobago's emerging economic recovery is testimony to the inherent strength and resilience of the local private sector. And I'm heartened that we have representation here today from most of our business associations. According to the Annual Economic Survey 2021, published by the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, total exports for the first 3 quarters of 2021 recorded under the balance of payment statistics was valued, first 3 quarters of 2021, that is, recorded under the balance of payment statistics was valued at approximately 7.2 billion US, which is about 49 billion TT, which was 69% higher than that of the same period in 2020. The growth in total exports was on account of both the export of energy and non-energy products and a result of external demand and price. Specifically, the report outlined that energy exports increased by 77% for the 9-month period in 2021 compared with the similar period in 2020. And on the other hand, non-energy exports increased by 46% comparing the same periods. But ladies and gentlemen, given this emerging recovery, and I stress emerging recovery, we must now redouble our efforts to build the international competitiveness, and Trisha spoke about that, of the economy and enhance the ease of doing business locally, as these will facilitate increases in investments and exports, which will drive sustainable economic growth. If Trinidad and Tobago is to be competitive in regional and international markets, and to achieve consistent, sustainable, and inclusive growth and development, the country must enhance productivity, substantially expand investment, transform its productive capacity, and the quality of goods and services, and take steps to expand opportunities for the export of goods and services. And to realize these objectives, we must utilize technology to make our trade and business processes more efficient. And in this regard, the rapid utilization of digital technologies, the modernization of trade laws, and the re-engineering of our processes have the potential to rapidly transform this country's platform for international trade performance. As it relates to the ease of doing business, Trinidad and Tobago was ranked 79th overall out of 140 countries in the last Global Competitiveness Report in 2019. That's the last time I think it was published. And a major requisite to improve our ranking also lies, among other factors, in the need to enhance the effectiveness of our institutions through digital transformation. And in the light of this, digital transformation is a critical pillar anchored in our national policies, Vision 2030, and the roadmap to recovery, transform into a new society and a new economy. It is recognized that these enhancements to the local trade and business processes can be catalysts for increased private sector interests and business successes. And over the last few years, the government has been aggressive in implementing reforms aimed at improving important areas in doing business. And these reforms target a reduction in time and costs involved and overall efficiencies in key trade and business processes. And some of the main initiatives being pursued by the MTI to improve our trade and business environment, and for which work is ongoing, include, and you would have heard me speaking about, the electronic payments for trade and business. And in 2021, Cabinet agreed to the implementation of online payments for the single electronic window for trade and business facilitation platform, which you know as TTBizLink, and also the automated construction permitting system, which is known as Develop TT. Currently, the ministry is engaging various agencies under the TTBizLink and under the Develop TT platforms to implement an online payment system which will benefit the stakeholders using the online services of several ministries, including the Ministry of Planning and Development, in particular the Town and Country Planning Division, the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, that is in particular the Plant Quarantine Services, Ministry of Health, Ministry of National Security, which is the Work Permit Secretariat, and Ministry of Works and Transport, in particular the Maritime Division, Transport Division. So that the ministry is aggressively working on all of these stakeholders, with all of these stakeholders under the guidance of the Treasury to make sure that this really becomes a reality. And as part of the IDB funded program, the Business Process Reengineering Project seeks to align the current major regulatory trade processes with international trade best practices through simplification, through modernization, and through harmonization. And in 2021, Cabinet had agreed with the implementation of 45 business process reengineering recommendations aimed at improving the ease of doing business environment with respect to international trade. And these recommendations target important factors for improvement in the border clearance process, such as online payments, staffing arrangements, container scanning, port efficiency and interoperability, sequencing of data, electronic processing of customs declarations, and expansion of TTBizLink's e-services. Each agency involved in the implementation of the BPR recommendations are undertaking the steps necessary to implement the recommendations related to their organization. And the ministry is currently undertaking consultations with the relevant agencies to implement the 9 priority recommendations which will manifest in the deployment of enhanced e-services under the TTBizLink platform by November 2022. And we stick into that. With regard to the implementation of the World Trade Facilitation Agreement, which is the context for today's portal. This WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement and other bilateral arrangements provide the impetus and the guidance and the necessary tools to make trade easier. And Trinidad and Tobago submitted its instrument of acceptance of this Trade Facilitation Agreement to the WTO in 2015, becoming the 9th WTO member to commit to this. and the first CARICOM member state to accept the agreement, so that the TFA entered into force globally on February 22nd, 2017. Predictability and transparency are cornerstones to the agreements of this World Trade Organization. And based on data from the WTO Trade Facilitation Database, Trinidad and Tobago has implemented 22.7% of the Trade Facilitation Agreement as at March 2022, which is in line with our country's schedule of commitments. And Ian, you were right about that. Additionally, the implementation rate is expected to rise to 53.8% by December 2023, with full implementation being achieved by December 2027, so that by the end of the year, we come back to you with further accomplishments with regard to fulfilling our commitment under the Trade Facilitation Agreement. And finally, the country should achieve full implementation by December 2027. But it's important to recognize that we are on track. And as part of the IDB funded program, and I think IDB is also here, wish to acknowledge them, the Ministry of Trade and Industry is working with a consultant to review all of the articles of the Trade Facilitation Agreement to identify the gaps within our domestic legislation. And the consultant has since prepared a draft legislative brief, which contains proposals for legislative amendments to implement Trinidad and Tobago's obligations under the Trade Facilitation Agreement. And these recommendations are expected to provide a framework to ensure a more compliant and facilitative trade environment. Publishing, and I come now to the Trade and Business Information Portal. Publishing cross-border trade-related requirements is an integral part of the obligation under Article 1 of the Trade Facilitation Agreement. And the Trade and Business Information Portal therefore represents Trinidad and Tobago's efforts to fulfill a major commitment to the World Trade Organization's Trade Facilitation Agreement. The Trinidad and Tobago Trade and Business Information Portal, therefore, is a one-stop online facility for searchable, accurate, comprehensive, and up-to-date information on trade and business procedures and other relevant business data. The portal is an integral component of TTBizLink, which also facilitates a range of government e-services related to trade and business. This new portal provides access to multiple tools and resources under three main categories: trade, business, and investment. And under each category, detailed step-by-step guidance on how to import and export goods, regulatory requirements for starting a new business or expanding an existing business, and regulatory requirements when undertaking an investment are some of the things that are provided. The portal has an extremely useful HS code and tariff finder, which will allow users to search for the most favored nation tariff rates for commodities imported into Trinidad and Tobago. Formerly, they would call the ministry, or customs officer would have a book and he'll be searching through. It will allow users to access updated legislation, trade agreements, bilateral investment treaties, double taxation treaties, and other legal reference documents pertaining to trade and business. The new portal is one of the few globally that utilizes customized tools developed by the International Trade Center. And this is to make global trade more transparent and to facilitate access to markets. These tools, these ICT tools, would enable your companies to identify export and import opportunities, compare market access requirements, monitor national trade performance, and make well-informed trade decisions. These tools offer the world's largest databases of trade statistics, tariff data, and rules of origin related to applicable free trade agreements. So today's launch of our first ever Trade and Business Information Portal, with this, we hope that the business community and other stakeholders will be provided with a useful tool to find the information that is necessary to facilitate and to accelerate their trade and business decisions and activities. I assure you that the ministry is committed to closely coordinating with the public and private sector as well as the international organizations, to ensure the continuous updating and further enhancement of the Trinidad and Tobago Trade and Business Information Portal. And in that regard, I give you the assurance that all of the governance arrangements are in place to ensure that there's the continual updating and further enhancement. And I think Crimson Logic stays on with us for a period to ensure that we are just getting all of this right. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I close, the portal will ensure that information is accessible for all while promoting transparency and unambiguity of rules through detailed and practical descriptions from a user's point of view. In this regard, I encourage you, both individuals and firms, and including the MSMEs, to utilize this tool to obtain accurate technical information in which to make better commercial decisions, which can position you to take advantage and to compete in both the international and local markets. I want to thank the staff of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, particularly those from the SEW unit who have been working on this for a while. Again, I thank Crimson Logic, who has been a significant partner as well. Again, we give our commitment to ensuring that the government's arrangements are in place to ensure that this remains a well-respected tool that the ministry has put out again. And I thank all of you for coming and for supporting the ministry and what we do to serve you better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Gopi Skoon, for those visionary and exciting remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, the Trinidad and Tobago Trade and Business Information Portal is now launched.
The Ministry of Trade and Industry is proud to introduce a new web-based facility, the Trinidad and Tobago Trade and Business Information Portal. Discover the easy-to-use access point that provides you with all you need to know about importing, exporting, and doing business in Trinidad and Tobago. The Trinidad and Tobago Trade and Business Information Portal is a new web-based facility under the Ministry of Trade and Industry's flagship TTBizLink platform. The portal is a one-stop online facility for searchable, accurate, comprehensive, and up-to-date information on trade and business procedures in Trinidad and Tobago. The portal is an integral component on TTBizLink, which also facilitates a range of government e-services related to trade and business. The introduction of this portal signals the government's commitment to become compliant with the World Trade Organization's Trade Facilitation Agreement, which requires members to make essential trade and business information publicly available. On the platform, exporters and importers, entrepreneurs, small and medium-sized enterprises, large and multinational corporations, and investors can access information on trade, business, and investment regulations and procedures, required forms and documents, applied rates of duties and rules of origin, market analysis tools, investment incentives and opportunities, business registration steps, business directories, and more. The portal's implementation is another tangible effort by the government of Trinidad and Tobago to assist in the fulfillment of two major thematic areas under the National Development Strategy Vision 2030, which are promoting good governance and service excellence and building globally competitive businesses. Visit the portal today at www.ttbizlink.gov.tt. The Ministry of Trade and Industry is proud.
Next, we have a live demonstration of how stakeholders can navigate and utilize the platform and conduct this demonstration is Mr. Randall Karim, Chief Technical and Operations Advisor, and Mr. Stephen Rodriguez, Single Electronic Window Technical Consultant, both members of staff of the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Without further ado, kindly welcome Mr. Karim and Mr. Rodriguez to take us through the Trade and Business Portal.
Thank you, Gaynell. Honorable ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen in the audience, and of course, those joining us via our social media platform. As Gaynell mentioned, I am being assisted by my colleague, Stephen. Stephen was actually the lead and head of the technical team that worked with all persons to develop the portal. So if there is anything that is not working, be sure to call Stephen. We got a teaser from the minister's speech and the video presentation on the portal. Now let's see how it actually works. The portal is hosted on the ministry's flagship TTBizLink platform, which for those who are familiar, hosts currently over 46 government e-services that are actually utilized by over 4,000 companies and 30,000 individuals on a daily basis. However, the ministry's vision goes way beyond those numbers because, as all our colleagues have spoken this morning before, have indicated that the portal, through the portal, the MTI is seeking to position the ministry and the portal as a focal point for cutting-edge information related to trade, business, and investment. The portal has three distinct functional areas: trade, business, and investment. And I will just go through the most important features of each area. In the area of trade, we have documented over 140 of the most common trade procedures relating to the major import and export commodities into Trinidad and Tobago, including animal and plant material, pharmaceuticals, fisheries, motor vehicles. And all of the information is presented for all of the required documentation, the time frames, and all of the expected time periods and expected outputs from pre-arrival to post-clearance. Mr. De Souza spoke about how do we keep the portal up to date and relevant. That is achieved partly through interoperability and through good governance. So another important feature of the portal relates to legal reference and trade documentation. What we have done is made the portal interoperable with the Law Reform Commission's website on the laws of Trinidad and Tobago. That ministry updates all of the laws regularly, and so therefore the portal will pull all of the recent legislation and legal notices relating to trade and business. So we are not manually uploading content at the ministry, we simply interoperable with our partner ministries. Another important feature of the portal in the area of trade relates to the Bureau of Standards. I see my colleague from the Bureau is here. This is a frequent request that we often get at the ministry. What are the standards associated with import and exports? So we are the portal is also interoperable with the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards online standard store so that persons can simply download the relevant standards. In the area of business, we have also documented over 100 of the most common business procedures in Trinidad and Tobago. And like the trade feature, it has all of the expected documentation, time frames, and outputs. And I will give you all an actual demonstration of that feature by taking a little bit of a risk this morning. Business directories are also an important feature. We have integrated with the major membership business directories from the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, the TTMA, and the AmCham. We hope to add soon the Trinidad and Tobago Coalition of Service Industries Exporters Registry, and all of the relevant business private sector organizations that wish to add their membership. We would be more than happy to integrate on our portal. In the area of investment, we have documented all of the relevant investment opportunities, and the winning formula is to not duplicate on the portal. We are simply going to be pulling from InvestTT's website because InvestTT, as our national investment promotion agency, is tasked with maintaining this content so that persons can go on the portal to the InvestTT website and obtain all of the relevant investment opportunities in Trinidad and Tobago. But being aware of an investment opportunity leaves one to ask, well, what are the relevant incentives for investment? And similarly, we have documented all of the investment incentives that are available and provided by the government to incentivize the various sectors under the non-energy area of the economy, whether it be agriculture, construction, tourism, maritime, the creative industries. And persons can simply click on all of the relevant sectors and get most of the, or if not all, of the various fiscal incentives, concessions, tax exemptions, tax allowances, etc. We are also integrated on the portal, all of through the economic spaces feature of the portal, the various areas for establishment of business, whether it be at ETEX industrial parks, but also at the Commission of State Lands services available through the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries for persons wishing to access state lands. Now, I mentioned I will take a bit of a risk. So, Stephen, if we could go to the business area of the portal. As I said, we have automated over 100 of the most common business procedures, and I'm seeing TTCSI has a good contingent, both the president and CEO. So I know TTCSI represents, you know, a significant portion of the SME sector. So maybe I'll take a risk and ask Vashti. Vashti, what is the most common business query, business procedure query that TTCSI would usually get? Oh, that well, okay. So let's see, Stephen. I mean, I think I know the answer to the question, but I prefer to trust the portal. I think it's about 6 or 7. So it's very easy to use. You simply go to business procedures, steps to set up, establish a business. You can view the procedures online, right? So it's 6 steps. And actually business registration has been made very easy over the last few years in Trinidad and Tobago, from name reservation to the submittance of your business registration documents. And for all of those steps you see on the portal, we have included the online facility where you can simply go to the relevant government agency that is already, in this case, is the Ministry of Trade and Industry through the company's registry and the Office of the Attorney General's website. But we have also included all of the requirements in each step, the expected time frames and the outputs associated with each step. So persons don't have to guess what are the relevant intricacies of each step. In the area of trade, and Minister mentioned how this usually happens. I am amazed working at the ministry how persons assume that because you work at the ministry, you have the entire HS tariff at the back of your mind, because that's the most common question I get asked from relatives and friends. The HS tariff finder, and again, speaking to how we intend to keep the portal updated, we have worked with the Customs and Excise Division to get the most recent national tariff of Trinidad and Tobago. And we intend, not at the ministry to duplicate, but we intend to pull directly from the customs database the most recent national tariff. So when I see our colleague, the acting controller of customs, is in the audience, they are providing the portal with the information. And whenever the tariff changes, the portal will always display the most recent tariff. But more importantly, it will give you not only the MFN rate, but the preferential rate that exists in each market and the rules of origin. So maybe I can ask someone, I just saw Christian, give me an example of an item you wish to import. Computers. All right, so let's, Stephen. Right. So, surprise, surprise, it's duty free. And I think we could thank the Minister of Finance for that, because that was a recent change in the tariff rate to accommodate digital education as a result of the pandemic. But as I said, you are going to pull the most recent MFN rate, the preferential rates, and when you click on the relevant rules of origin, you can view the detailed rules of origin. And this is not only for computers. Literally any item that you wish to import, you can simply go in. Either you know the tariff code, which most people do not know, or you use the local vernacular or the normal word, and you will get the relevant tariff. The most interesting feature of the portal is the ITC trade maps tools. Now we have to thank the minister for this availability. We would have attended, Minister, I don't know if you remember in 2019 when we went to the trade policy review, we had the opportunity to go to the International Trade Center and get an actual demonstration of the tools. And when Minister saw it, she said, we have to get these tools available. And it's actually costing quite a bit of money. So we have to thank the government for making the funds available. But this is, whether you're in the business community or media, every day, literally, people ask for trade data. And we are pulling the data directly from the Central Statistical Office. The CSOs provides through UN Comtrade, it's a United Nations body. They provide the data, and the CSO has significantly improved the preparation of trade statistics. And through the trade maps tool, all of the most recent trade import and export data has been provided to the ITC, and persons can use any of the ITC tools to get the most relevant and up-to-date trade statistics. So for example, if you look at Minister spoke up, I think about 8 billion US in exports for the first 3 months of the year. Actually, the figure for all of 2021 is now about 10 billion US, which interestingly is actually on par and in excess of our pre-COVID-19 pandemic levels. And you could see that from the trade data. And there are multiple views of the data. You simply have to change the fields related to the time series, and you could get either time series data or the most recent yearly data. You can also be able to see imports and exports. So if you want to, you have an inquiry about where our pattern of trade, our direction of trade is, you can simply pull up, either go to use a table view or map view, and it allows you to see, I think this is export we're looking at. You can see all our major export or import. This is export. So you see that the US accounts for 40% of our export. And you can simply play around with the map and see which countries are contributing to which percentage of our trade performance. Similarly, for imports, you can get that, and it gives you a better appreciation of how diverse Trinidad and Tobago's outreach in the area of international trade is. So I'll ask maybe someone from the audience, because I think Mr. Souza, you spoke about retail and distribution, because imports is a critical aspect of retail and distribution. You can use the trade maps tool to understand our import figures, but more importantly, to identify supply chain opportunities. So I'll actually give, I don't know if somebody wants to give an item. Chocolate, well, that's on export. I could use that for export. Import? Flour. Well, no, actually, it is a good example. It is a good example because we spoke about, well, we import wheat. We import wheat, but I mean, we heard about earlier about this, about, you know, the Russia-Ukraine conflict and supply chain challenges. So you can actually go onto the portal, type in, well, it will be wheat because we, of course, we don't import flour, we import wheat. Processed by our flour producers, and you can see that all of our flour comes mostly from North America, United States, and Canada, and that's where all of our wheat comes from North America. But if you're looking for alternative supply chains, one will ask the question: well, where else exports flour? And you can simply go to the tool, go to all, even. Yeah, that's wheat, yeah. And you can see, go to the table view, so we can see the world's exporters of wheat. Right, so you can actually see who are the major exporters of any item. Well, I mean, surprise, surprise, Russia and Ukraine appear in the top 5. And I mean, that only explains why you're seeing the prices of these commodities going up. But it also, you're seeing that Brazil, Argentina, and some parts in South America are alternative suppliers of wheat. The point being made is that persons can go onto the portal and identify alternative supply chains, which countries are producing it. There's a useful tool I will show. If you look to the extreme right of the portal, you will see companies. And if you click on companies, those countries that have supplied the data to the ITC, you can see who are the actual sellers and buyers of commodities. And you will see, okay, in what country, the identity of the companies. Ramesh, you use, I think you said chocolates and cocoa, right? Again, the portal is not only for importers, the portal is for exporters as well. So you can go onto the portal and look at exports of, Stephen, let's try chocolate. Right, so look at chocolates. We export, yeah, under 1806, we export approximately, go to the time series. We export, I think Minister in your speech this week, you spoke about 100, it should be around 13 million US, right? So if you look at our 2020 value, our chocolate exports are roughly around 100 million TT, but the majority of our exports actually go to those markets in the region. Let's look at cocoa, because cocoa might be should be much smaller, but might be more interesting. Yeah. Right, actually this is very interesting. So our cocoa exports in 2021 was only 810,000 US. That's about a little over 5 million TT. But look at the markets our cocoa are going to. Switzerland and Japan, which only underscores not only the premium of our cocoa, but also the huge potential for cocoa being produced and exported to lucrative markets. Another major feature of the tools are, Stephen, let's see the global demand for cocoa. Because what the tool will allow you, if you're an exporter in Trinidad, what is the global demand and which countries in the world are importing those items? Right, look at that. If you look clearly at the screen, the global demand for cocoa is 11 billion US dollars. And look at the largest markets. Well, US, no surprise, but the Netherlands. Who would have known that the Netherlands is the world's largest importer of raw cocoa beans? What will be interesting, Stephen, let's look, you can use the market access map to identify if I am an exporter here in Trinidad and Tobago and I want to export my cocoa beans, because we're already exporting to Switzerland and Japan, if I want to export it to the Netherlands, what are the market requirements? What is the MFN rate? What is the labeling standards? So you can simply go to the market access tool on the portal, type in cocoa beans, type in the target market, and you would be able to see the MFN rate actually is 0%, which would make sense. And under the EPA agreement, it will also be 0%. But you can see from the portal all of the geographical restrictions, all of the SPS standards, the labeling requirements. And if you click on any one of those icons, you will actually get the actual documentation. This significantly helps exporters identify new markets. In terms of the upcoming features of the portal, we do hope to launch by the end of this month an intelligent chatbot. You know, most chatbots don't tend to be intelligent, but we are hoping to make ours intelligent by preparing the relevant answers to commonly asked questions. We will have a smart HS feature because I spoke about local vernacular. If you're importing bygone, most persons don't know what is the relevant HS that goes with that. So we're hoping to map all of the local vernacular terms to items, and customs is already helping us with that. Minister spoke about the TTBizLink enhanced services. We will be launching a suite of new and improved TTBizLink e-services. In closing, I just want to thank the technical team from the MTI, Crimson Logic, the project implementation unit, and all of our stakeholders. This portal represents nearly a year of significant technical work. And I assure you that Both permanent secretaries have been meeting very often with the technical team under the guidance of the minister, focused on the governance arrangements to ensure that this portal remains active, it remains up to date, and more important, that it better serves you, the business community. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Karam. I think that presentation sums up knowledge, information is power. And I think we're now in a better position to go forward as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago and the business community to utilize this new tool provided by the Ministry of Trade and Industry. We have reached the program, the last item in the program, the closing remarks. And I would just like to say, in closing, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to Senator the Honorable Paula Gopi-Schoon for leading us through this process, and to Minister Hasselbachers for taking the time out of his busy schedule to be with us today. Thank you to the WTO General and Deputy Director General for sending Trinidad and Tobago virtual greetings, and to our guest speakers, Ms. Tricia Kusal and Mr. Ian De Souza, for providing us with insights of the business community. A special thank you to key stakeholders and ministries and agencies that have assisted the Ministry of Trade and Industry in providing and verifying relevant information that has helped to make this portal a reality. Stakeholders such as the Customs and Excise Division of the Ministry of Finance, several divisions of the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, Ministry of National Security, the Trade License Unit, the Business and Investment Directorates of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, to the consultants, Crimson Logic, that have worked tirelessly on the development and implementation of this portal, to the project implementation team and staff of the Ministry of Trade and Industry that give selflessly of themselves to ensure that this portal is a success. To the media, thank you for coming out today and providing coverage of this very exciting and transformative initiative that can certainly impact the way we do business in Trinidad and Tobago and beyond. And to the Hilton Trinidad Conference Center, thank you very much for providing us with the best service and this lovely venue today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, at this time, we do have refreshments. Please feel free to help yourself to the available refreshments.